So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is about uploading and managing suppression lists with the new suppression list management and upload tool that we just finished and rolled live yesterday, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure if any of you have had a chance to check it out yet, but I'm assuming not, since it is brand new. Again, my name is Forrest Cassidy. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of LeadFerret, and this is going to be a quick 25-30 minute webinar. We're going to show you this tool. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of other features in LeadFerret. I'm assuming most of you are already existing LeadFerret users, so I'm going to assume you know how to do basic things like run queries, things of that nature, and I'm more or less going to focus on this new tool, the suppression list tool. So we're going to cover how to search for new prospects while excluding your existing customers, competitors, etc., download lists of contacts, and avoid using your points for contacts you've already have. These are all examples of things you can do with suppression lists. And of course, I'm going to show you the mechanics of how to actually upload and implement a suppression list. You can, of course, use suppression lists to ensure that you're spam compliant in any email marketing activities. That would include, essentially anybody who opts out from a campaign. You can put them into a suppression list and then make sure that you never download that record to be included in an email marketing campaign. Okay, let me jump over now to an actual browser. Okay, so suppression lists, what are they in concept and in reality? So generally a suppression list, and for the purpose of use in LeadFerret, is going to be a list of email addresses or a list of domains. So you could either suppress individual contacts by email address, or you can suppress an entire company or division of a company or anybody within a company that shares a common domain. In other words, if we had a particular contact like Joe Smith at IBM, his email address might be joe.smith@ibm.com. If we load that contact in to a suppression list, then we can suppress that particular email address or any record that is associated with that email address from downloads, searches, targets, things of that nature. Whereas the second half of the email address, which is oftentimes the website of the company, but not always, is the domain. And the domain is associated with at the company level. So it will say any contact with that domain will be suppressed from your list. So you can see here, first thing I do is once I'm logged in, I go to the dashboard and I go to suppression lists. Or a suppression list is actually where you manage the list. First thing I'm going to do is upload a suppression list. So you go to suppression list upload, and that's the page we're on now. And you can see there are extensive, detailed step-by-step instructions on the left-hand side to both suppress contacts by email as well as suppress companies by domain. So to suppress, and the instructions are very similar, and there are actually a couple options within each. But first I want to make sure everybody conceptually understands that emails suppress contacts, domains will suppress the entire company. Okay, now on the right side of the screen you will see the actual upload tool. So the instructions are on the left, the upload tool is on the right. First thing we want to do, so I'm going to walk you through several different options of how to upload lists, and then we're going to go over how to use the lists, and then we're going to go over some specific examples of things you can do with the suppression lists in sort of real-life scenarios. First, we'll upload a list of domains. You can, of course, you have the option of uploading a list of domains or a list of emails. So I'm going to select domains, and then I'm going to choose a file to upload. So I'm going to choose a file. from my local computer. This is a file that I've created in advance. Notice it says here upload list CSV. So we're looking for comma-separated files, which are typical spreadsheets. You can actually just change a text file that's a single column to a .csv at the end, and that'll become a CSV file. Or you can use a spreadsheet in Excel, save it as CSV. Now what you want in these spreadsheets are basically a single column with the values that you're looking for. So let me show you very quickly examples of what a CSV file should look like when you open it. I'm going to open a file in a couple files here in Excel. It's a little off topic, but I think it'll be helpful. Okay, so here's a basic CSV file with emails. This is an email suppression list. And you can see one column, just emails, that's it. That's a CSV file, I save that. Pretty simple. And here's a file with domains. It's just one column, domains. I save that. Very simple. Okay. Now, let me actually upload some of these and show you how they work. Okay, so let's start with a domain list. I'll just take domain list 1. So I now have chose my file. The file name is listed here. There is a 5 megabyte maximum file size. And I do have the option, which I'm going to show you in a moment, to also just cut and paste in individual records. So if it's just a handful of records or even a couple hundred or 5 or even 1, you can literally just cut and paste the records into this text box. In this case, we're going to use a file, which many people already maintain files that contain their suppression lists. So that's probably the likely methodology that you'll be using initially. Okay, now this bottom half of the tool, I can create a new suppression list, or I can add to an existing suppression list. Now there are two options for existing suppression lists that I can add to. The first one is my general suppression list, which you'll see in a moment. There's always a general suppression pool that you can, if you don't really care to specify the suppression list as a particular subgroup, you can just dump everything into your general suppression list. And there's a general list for your email suppressions as well as your domain suppression. Or I can use an existing list that I've named. So you can see I have a list of a couple new domain lists and another one I just called Z. One has 35 domains and another has 22. I can select this option and I can add the domains in this file I'm about to upload to that existing list. And then the third option, and I'm going to show you what happens with each of these, is to create a new suppression list. So I would check this box, type in the name of the list, and then hit upload suppression. That's going to actually create a new list. But let's start with general suppression list, and let's upload this suppression list that of domains that select. Okay, I get a message here at the top. It says data added to your general suppression list. Now I go to dashboard and I'm going to jump over to my suppression lists, which I already have open on another tab here. I'll refresh this and I get a list essentially of all my suppression lists. The first thing you'll see is the name. The first two lists will always be your general domain list, which this D stands for domain, and the quantity of domains present in that list, 920. So I just added a handful more, and those are now part of my general suppression pool. You can see up here D is domain, E is email, and then in brackets is the number of either emails or domains within that list. The second item on the list will always be my general email suppression list, which currently has 21 emails in it. After that are all my named suppression lists. I can click on any one of these to see the contents of that. So here are all the domains in my general domain suppression list, including those that were in the file that I just uploaded. So that's how to add domains to your general domain suppression list. Now let's look at adding domains to an existing suppression list that's named, not my general list. So again, I make sure domain's selected here. I choose a file. Let's go with domain suppression 2. I say, instead of adding it to my general list, I actually want to add it to the new domain list, which currently has 35 records in it. And I say, let's upload that. Now, here I get a message again indicating your list has been updated. So I've updated an existing list by adding to it. Remember, this was previously 35, now it's 55, so there must be about 20 domains in that list. It does also deduplicate for you. And again, I just want to mention that if you do have any questions, please do submit those. We'll be more than happy to answer those as we go. Okay, so back to the actual list of lists tab. So if you recall, I added the domains from the file that we uploaded to new domain list, which you see here has 55 records, and here they are. Very simple. So you can use this to suppress. You can have one list for suppressing competitors. You can have another list for suppressing existing clients. You can have another list for suppressing prospects that are already in your pipeline. You could have another list for suppressing people who have opted out, and that's the purpose of giving you the flexibility to create these named suppression lists. Is you can not just have suppression capabilities, but actually be able to manage it and be able to know what you're suppressing. Okay. Now, the final thing I want to show you is how to create a new domain list, or the final thing when it comes to uploading domain lists. So again, to make sure domain is selected, again, I'm going to select, I selected an email list. Let me select a domain list. So I select the domain list, and then instead of adding it to an existing either general or named list, I'm going to create a new suppression list, and I'll just call this new domain. I already have a new domain list. I guess I'll just call this domain 2, or maybe just I'll call it clients now. So I upload that, and it says list successfully created. So now it's telling me a new list has actually been created. I go back to my suppression list tab, and you see here clients now 20 domains. I can click on this, and I see all of there's 10 per page, so 2 pages of domains that I just uploaded. I can now just suppress those from searches, downloads, targets, which I'm going to, of course, show you how to do momentarily. Before we move on to email suppression lists, let me show you, actually I got a couple more things to show you with domains, but so let me show you how to actually use the text box instead of uploading a file. Very simple. I'm sure most of you have probably already figured it out to some degree by now, but yeah, it's extremely simple. So I'm just going to copy a list of domains, paste it in here. I can either do one per row like this, or this format would also work, having a comma between each domain. So I've got a list of domains here. I choose domain as the list type. I can name the file, upload it. Of course, I can also add these domains directly to any existing lists, including my general domain suppression list. And I go back over here to my suppression list tab, and looks like I've now maybe moved to a second page. So, and these are the domains that I just pasted in through the text box. So a very easy way to suppress contacts, even one at a time. I mean, if somebody calls or emails you and says, hey, don't send me any more information, don't call me, you can immediately add them through the text box very quickly. And that's the intent of that tool. Okay, so now that we've gone through all the different ways to create new domain suppression lists, upload them, etc., let's take a look at some of the ways you can manage domain suppression lists. So you can, of course, rename a list using this tool here. You can rename it. You can load it, but by clicking on the name, or by clicking on load here. You can also delete a list. Now when you delete a domain list, say, okay, I no longer want to suppress these domains, let me remove them. It gives you a couple options. First says, are you sure you want to delete the suppression list? And then the first option is, yes, delete this list and unsuppress the items in this list from my general suppression list. So why might you want to do that? Let me give you a couple examples. You might have a domain present in one of your sub-lists or your named list as well as in your general list. If you know you just want to remove it from the sub-list, then you would select option 2. And if it exists in the general list, it will continue to exist there. If you actually want to unsuppress that person or company, in this case for domains, you would actually select the first option, which is delete this list and unsuppress the item from the general list as well. So what that's essentially going to do is it's going to delete that domain or that list and the domains associated with it from this named suppression list, and if any of those domains exist in the general suppression list, it's also going to remove them from there, so that essentially that domain will no longer be suppressed by your general list or by this list. Okay, so I click OK. It confirms deletion successful. Your list has been deleted. Great. That list no longer exists. Okay, so hopefully that was pretty straightforward. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Now I'm going to quickly cover basically all the same steps, but for email suppression. And when I say quickly, the steps really are very similar, so I'm going to cover them very quickly, and some of them I will just mention how they work as opposed to taking you through every one. So emails, choose email as type. I select a file. I've got some prepared CSV files. Again, they must be CSV files, single column, just with emails. I select that file and I say, okay, I want to add the emails in this list to my general suppression list. I say upload suppression list. It does take a little bit longer for emails because what we're actually doing is finding those contacts within our database so that when you do run suppression, it will occur very quickly when you actually run a search and suppress those particular emails. It will run much more quickly than if we had to go back and reference each of your suppression lists. So it takes a second. Essentially what we're doing during that time is matching each email to an ID, specific ID within our database. Okay, data added to your general list. That means it's done. I go back to my list of suppression lists. You can see my general list, which was previously 20 or something emails, was relatively small, is now 55. I can click on that and load those, and all of the emails that I just uploaded are now part of my general suppression list. As I showed you with the domains, you can do all the same things with emails, including select email, choose your file, add it to an existing email list, the existing named email list. It shows me all the different named email lists that I currently have and the quantity in each here. I can also create a new named email suppression list. I can also copy a handful of emails, paste them in here, and create a list that way. So let me just show you that very quickly. So let's say these are emails of people who opted out. Opt-outs 05, 07, 2014. I can upload that suppression list. Again, it's working behind the scenes to import the emails and associate them with any matching records in our database. And then I go to the suppression list and I can see the opt-outs. So there were 11 emails there, and here they are. Okay, so now I've showed you how to upload suppression lists, both domain and email, through various different approaches, whether it be from a CSV file or cut and paste into the available text field. how to manage them by dropping them into either the general email list, an existing email list, or a new suppression list. I'm sorry, not email list. It could be email or domain. Again, all the instructions are here on the left. And I've showed you how to rename, delete, and move them here. But now let's get into how do you actually put the suppression lists to use for you on the site. Where can you actually use them? So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the general email list, and I'm going to find a domain here, just so you can really see this in action. So let's say we're running a search within the search panel, and we want to apply our suppression lists. First, let me search for this particular domain, and the only reason I do this is so that you can actually see the results changing. In very large quantities, it would be difficult to see the results actually changing. But if I search here and I find that there are 59 contacts within this with this domain, Foxborough. Actually, what I did, let me expand this a little bit. I said they include Foxborough, or starts with Foxborough, but let's say that's an exact match. I'm not sure if that'll change the results at all. Actually, it probably shouldn't. It probably should still be 59 results. Now, on this particular, on our general suppression list, which we've got open here, you can see that there is this contact, T. Preble at Foxborough. Let's see if that particular contact shows up in the search results. Okay, it might be on the next page. Maybe I should select the domain. It's going to be smaller. An easy way to tell is I can simply say contacts in email suppression list, apply those. When I check that box and run the search again, if that contact is one of the 59, which it looks like it's not, then it would be excluded from the search results. Let me find another one that might be in there. Run another search by this domain. And of course, I'm just using domains so that we can deal with a smaller sample set. Too many contacts in these domains. I need one that returns fewer contacts. You can run, of course, any search and apply these suppression lists. Oops. And you can apply, of course, the domains or the emails, or you can apply both. So we're looking for Thomas Elam, which actually I've already excluded. So 23 results without excluding that, or with excluding that contact. If that person is actually in our database, you will see 24 results when this search runs. 23. Okay, so they're not in our database. I think you get the concept, though, and let me show you. I guess I should have used suppression lists that included emails that I knew were already in our database. But let me show you with the domains how this might work, or how this works. Again, I think you get the concept, but I just want to specifically show it to you. So let's say we want to run a search, and I will search for domains that include web A, or start with. And that's going to give us a lot of results. And then what I'm going to do, okay, so 321 results. And then, but then what I am not applying a suppression list here. Now when I apply the domain suppression list, if that domain is included, the number of results should go down, excluding any contacts that are in our database that have that domain. Okay, contacts and suppression list excluded. So now any records that have the domain or any of these domains that were in that search result will have now been excluded from the search results. Okay, let me see if there are any questions that people have in particular about applying the suppression lists. You can, a cool trick that you can use is you can actually have two, if you, let's say that you're a team of people and you have multiple LeadFerret accounts and you download 100 emails, 100 records from account A, you can then use those as a suppression list in account B so that they don't download the same records, so that essentially you have two autonomous lists that are not, that have no overlap, so that account that rep A and rep B are not targeting the same prospects or even the same company. So you could take a list that you download for rep A, take the domains from that list and make it a suppression list for rep B and vice versa, and you will therefore exclude, prevent them from calling the same people. I mentioned you can use it to filter out competitors. I mentioned you could use it to filter out existing clients or existing products or prospects. You can also use it when you're running you run a search and you find some contacts and you know this contact is not a good fit for your company, so you don't want them to show up in future results. So I can find the domain here, which is webaloo.com. I can go over to the suppression lists and I can say webaloo.com, add that to my general domain suppression list, upload, and once that's done, I go back here. Tim Anderson, who's a partner at webaloo, is our first search result using this criteria. But if I run it again, you're going to see that Tim Anderson is no longer included in the search results. Search results have actually gone down, and in fact, I can see by the count that actually there were 3 contacts within the search results within that company that were removed because we were at 314 results. So it allows you to sort of create an inverse search, if you will. In other words, a pool of emails and domains that you want to actually exclude from your searches. And again, if you can use it as sort of a loop as you run searches. You find domains that are not what you're looking for, webassign.net. I can go back over here, add in WebAssign, add it to my general suppression list, upload it, and then when I rerun the same query or any other query, no contacts from that company will be included. And of course, you can do the same things with domains. With emails, you can say this contact is really not who I'm looking for. Let me take their email, put it in here, upload it to my general email list, and they will now be excluded from all future searches that I run, so long as I check these boxes. So it says exclude contacts in domain suppression lists or contacts in email suppression lists. Of course, I can exclude both if I would like as well. Right now we're at 311 contacts. I run this. It looks like there were not any emails that weren't already be excluded by domain that would have been excluded. Okay, let me get to questions, see if there are any that I can answer live, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. That was the gist of what we wanted to cover.